Hmm. Oh, you son of a bint. Hmm. How can it be disconnected? It is clearly working. Chinese build quality it is then. Bloody blooming hell, man. Hmm. Ah. Hmm. um. Hmm. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. Disconnected my frigging asshole. Mm. Mm. Uh. Device disconnected my din jävla kuk. I don't even remember what the name of these bloody blooming thing is. Chauffeur. Chauffeur. Nul. Gosh, Brock, dang it. That's not a freaking brand. Fine, okay, we're moving forward. Outlook, let's see. Even. But where is the fucking site for the driver, you flogging bastard? So yeah, we have a product, right? Is this so sketch? Is a lovely little paperweight then. Cheers. Helvete. Det är software. Oh, men for that wonderful thing is borked. That's exactly what I wanted. Yes. Jarre. I was wondering about something. This sounded a bit silly. I was a bit curious about something I didn't realize. They would do a bit like so, eh? Oh, I guess I'm just curious. Ah, hello. I'm just curious about something here. That is... Oh yeah. Need to get rid of that thing here. Okay, that's not possible. Tangents, is that what they call it? Yes, I suppose. I'm good. I'm getting... I'm just slightly irritated. I have this thing with extra keys that is supposed to program well. It's suddenly not working! And the driver says not connected. But it's clearly working. And it's clearly connected. Here's a light and everything. Stupid piece of shit. And what you get from buying things from China. You get tofu drag. I'm glad it's made of plastic and not some weird tofu equivalent. So yeah, I was just... Just looking at some really old school anime. Is this gonna check something here? It's just something I'm just curious about here. This is stupid eyes. So yeah, okay, that's literally following that logic. Okay, then interesting. Simply just looking at how this is a bit curious about how they did the original, how they draw certain things. Realize, yes, they're using certain rules for the faces. Essentially, it's a ball. Very consistent. I'm just adding basic color blocking. Hey, there's a block that needs color. I add color. And then I'm gonna see about drawing some stuff. Maybe I should draw VTubers or make caricatures of the people. Just for fun. Years, decades. Maybe I should. Maybe that's what I should do. Just draw nice illustrations of VTubers or something. Or corn. Hmm. Yes. Yes, it is. Hmm. Yes, no. Let's see. I make sequel to this. So, of course I will. I always aim to be famous. So, yeah. I think I sort of nailed it. Let's see. I'm just gonna do something here because I'm feeling silly. Let's just make some stupid. Let's just make some character portraits of some internet people because I can. I need to practice portray freehand drawing, a bit more freehand drawing as well of humans. I see this dude has very expressive eyebrows. That thing, come on. Zooming glitches. I suppose his face is a little bit of shape and a nose. And that one goes over here. there. A bit here and a bit there and a bit. That's a totally different type of news, doesn't it? Yes. Of course, the small face, isn't that it for you? Yes. So yeah, this is just me doing some going back to bases. He has a bigger chin than that, doesn't he? Yes. Ah, thank you. So, yes. If you go down here, see. No, that's too flat. Take this, pull. Here, shadow, come. God dang it. Yes, drawing humans consistent is harder than most people would like to admit. But doable, yes. I don't know what I do anymore, but yeah. This is human, yes, very human. Yep, I'm going to put you here. There we go. We post it here and there. Oh, we go over to page, collect the color light. Oh, right color comes here, and then I realize, oh yeah. Line, colored color, wearing gloves, yes. Clavicle.
The members are surrounding outside of Springfield or within Springfield, and I am the one that's a little farther away in Branson, but it's only like a 45-minute drive, so.
Oh, you live in Branson, huh?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Good for you. And I'm trying to think of some of the better questions we already asked before Gen X rudely interrupted us with bad electronics. Miss Poor
I did.
Electronica.
Asshole. What a prick. He's like, I guess I got to do this interview all over again. I guess I should have written down some of my questions. Well, yeah. No shit. What a dick. Well, why is he so impressed with Branson, Missouri?
I was wondering the same thing.
Oh, you live in Branson. Well, la-ti-da, billionaire. I didn't realize.
Do you live in a house? What's it like?
Central Air? Huh. Guess that's a thing they have in Missouri, not up here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I'll tell you that.
It's a strange place to live. It's
It
definitely
is.
odd because of like the most theaters in the world and all those shows that start at like 5 or 4 o'clock and are done
Right.
by 7. Like if you want to sing, it's definitely a place to live.
So she did explain that her parents are both entertainers, and she got involved in entertainment early on, was a child performer.
Voice of an angel.
Oh boy. Well, before we get into that, so she has 6 children, apparently. And Scorch is just so smooth how he asks these questions and how he communicates with other human beings.
One of the things we were talking about, and I want to bring this back up because it's extremely cool and just wild. Bob, and you know this, so but kind of act surprised. Gen X has got 6 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, that was good, Bob. That was very surprised, looking good. But yeah, let's talk about that, Jen. Really, and I'm not going to ask about.
Let's see,
being a cool
where
guy
is
again,
that frigging
is it hard?
tool
First of all, do you have
for the
a
other
full-time
layers?
job, or is music your full-time gig?
Lasse
no, I work
and
full-time.
close and
Jesus
chill.
Almighty, do you really?
Yes.
Röja surrounded by
How do
and
you
my
balance
family is a
that, Jen?
blended family, which complicates things even further. So
Holy balls! How do you truly? How do you manage life? That's gotta be something. Are you a crack addict? Do you smoke
I-
crack?
no, I don't.
I'm only joking with you.
Oh, yeah. You just shaking a crane on that one?
You must be a devil with the ladies.
I've heard that one before. I like that he's like, you're able to manage a family and a career and a hobby? What are you, a crackhead? Like, no, crackheads do none of those
Yeah,
things.
full-time job.
What do you mean? You know how crack works?
Do you have any crack?
Why are you so good at balancing all these things in your life? I have a crippling addiction to crack. How else do you do it?
Don't you?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Hmm.
I like that he also
Fill
had a fucking-
enclosed
throw it
with
out there again.
black.
Bob acts surprised. Even though we already did this
enclosed
fucking
and
interview.
Because of her.
A third time.
Hmm,
That
can
needs
I
to be
just
brought
go
up once.
into
Third time he has to bring it up again. Make everyone uncomfortable.
Bob's contribution.
reference?
Poor Bob. He's a zilch too.
He's not interviewing her. He's just flirting with her and
Yes.
like a child. Being
Right.
mean to her, pulling her hair, trying
short
to get her to like
keys.
him. He's not doing an interview at all.
Tools.
I bet having all those kids
uh,
probably makes it tough for your
fill.
relationship. Probably mad at your boyfriend or husband, right?
Must be
Wanna
pretty
get back
lonely.
at him?
Holy balls.
Holy balls.
Let's take it close and
He's
fill
a
and put
wordsmith, this one.
shortcut on
Can I live with you?
D.
So you just heard him say, so what are you, like a crackhead or something? And she's like, "Ah."
Let's
I was like, I'm joking. And he
see.
explains, like, he'll get used to me.
Jen doesn't know me that well. She's like,
Total joke.
yeah,
Sharon
Jen's like,
Osbourne is
Then you can go to
get mad, right?
Jen's
what
like,
does he
Jen's like,
call
what the
it?
crap?
Yeah.
You'll get to know me, Jen. This is me. But so you
You'll get to know me. I'm awkward and terrible at interviewing.
I don't even
Maybe
know how to swear.
on tablet.
but so you can
And put
balance
that
it
on
all okay.
the
huh?
button there.
No.
All
I'm
right.
failing miserably. Scores. Let's move
I'm
on.
on your
They-
show.
Right. I'm wasting
All
all of
right.
my time with this. What do you think? Mom. All right. So
Good.
now Scorch is obsessed with how expensive things are because he's a poor.
Mhm.
So as soon as he finds out that she has a bunch of children, he's like, whoa, children cost money, right? So he brings up a question that I would deem inappropriate, but what do I know? I don't really give a shit either way. Just funny that this is like this woman's like on there because she has a band or two and she sings and writes original music. And she lived in Nashville for 10 years. She's really tried to make it as a music star. And Scorch is just obsessed with like, wow, all those kids.
Wow. Can we? And this is. I'm not going to get too deep with the family stuff, but I gotta know. This day and age, right? A family of 6. How many of them live with you?
We still have 4.
Jeez. How much is a grocery bill?
It's ridiculous.
So it's 4 plus you and a hubby or you and a guy.
Yeah.
So 6 total in the house.
Yeah.
How much can it be? I mean, let me guess. Bob, take a guess as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
6 people
Let's make it a game.
per week. Let's go with
$20.
470.
You gotta guess, Bob.
Low.
Now just add a sticker to the
Low
button so I know the
675.
shortcut.
Jen,
Wait, a week or a month?
a week.
Yeah, no. There ain't no way. There ain't no way. So apparently I budget really well, or maybe it's just cheaper living here.
Okay,
But yeah,
good.
that could play a role too, because we spend about $300 a month.
Okay, so what a weird game that was. You know what I mean? Just like, well, do you go to the Price Right or Aldi or Publix?
Yeah, I came here to talk about my band.
I like that. He goes, what was Scorch's guess? 450?
470.
470?
Yeah.
And Bob goes, well, you're an idiot, Scorch. 675. She goes, it's 300. I mean, what are you guys talking about?
A month.
What the fuck's wrong with you guys?
You could hear he kind of gave up on the question when he learned she had a husband or a guy living with her.
Yeah,
He just kind of tossed it off to Bob. It's like, I'm
So
done.
it's you plus 4 plus. Is there another one in there? Ah, okay, well.
I don't care. Bob, take it from here.
Let's play a record.
Oh, they play a lot of her music on this.
A lot.
Scorch is broke. And so he can't wait to tell you his anecdote about grocery shopping.
Here's a sad fact. You want to hear this, guys? I applied because I'm retired now, so I'm trying to get all the help I can get from all these different places. Not like I'm doing okay, but I'm
Oh,
trying
yes,
to get,
absolutely.
So
I go to food bank once a month too.
I
I'm trying to
applied
feed
for-
8 teenagers that will eat me outside of house and home. There ain't no way.
I
do that
applied
too.
for food stamps, right? What they call food share here in Wisconsin. They sent me back a letter saying, congratulations, you got food share. I called my mom up. Hey, Mom, they gave it to me. They gave me food share. My mom's an old Jewish lady in Boston. Oh, honey, good for you. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Before you get too excited, Mom, wait till you hear the amount they gave me per month. What do you suppose they gave me per month?
Everything a fucking game. I don't know, man. Why are we talking about you? I love that. It's like, I have a fun fact. So you know how you live a household with 6 people and you go grocery shopping with a full-time job? I live by myself and I'm broke. And I'm on food stamps.
I get handouts.
And I was bragging to my mom that I'm on food stamps. And she was like, nice.
Gimme.
My mom's like, that's tight, Scorch.
Good for you. I'm
I
proud
knew
of you.
you'd make it.
She was pleased. She was pleased as pie with that.
Yeah, but hold on, Mom.
Yeah, but what? All right. Anyone in the chat want to guess? I see Eric Nagel. You want to guess
Getting
how much
gonna-
money he's getting from the government?
There is a
assistance?
hole in the back line.
Adam, do you know the answer to this by any chance?
I do.
Okay, well then we can't have any fun with it. Let's find out. Here is the answer to how much money Scorch is getting from the government. And you right leaning people are going to be really pissed when you hear this.
It's like, it's truly like almost just keep it at that point. They gave me,
$75.
That was what
No.
I was gonna say.
God, I would have went down and banged them for $75. They gave me $24 per month. So how do you get out of the house to play music?
What an edit that was, too. He's like, have I been talking about myself too long over here? Okay. So anyway, you play music?
He went back and edited to keep that in.
He had to keep in the $24 a month part. The one
He
was
could have
me.
taken any of that out, especially the part where he called his mom, but he chose not to.
He left all that in. So I know you guys love my airport stories. I got fucking screwed on the way to Florida and on the way back this past week. I spent 2 full days in airports and airplanes because of American and Delta. They can go screw.
I thought you were quitting American.
I know. I can't fucking win. I can't fucking win. Oh my God, American sent me a little survey afterwards. They should have done that. I was fired up. But anyway,
That'll be
not the
effective.
point. The point is,
Okay.
when the Delta Sky Lounge won't let you in their Sky Lounge, you know how expensive it is to be stuck in the airport for 4 hours watching the World Cup? A lot more than $24. Here's my line of the day. You call that a double? Okay. This is how poor Scorch is. This is how.
Okay. Mhm. Oh shit.
You are about to embark upon the Great Crusade.
Wait, what is he carrying? Is that a Winchester 1873?
Your task will not be an easy one.
You're hiding Wehrmacht in the floorboards, are you not?
Oh my god!
He is hiding under the table!
Oh my god.
And
It's
Andy?
off Shay.
Good luck, and let us all beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking.
A couple of weeks ago, I was prowling on Tubi with some friends when we came across this, D-Day Assassins. Now, I'm not going to bore you with a long-winded intro. I'm just going to say that this is an interesting one. For many different reasons, not all of them are even quite historical.
I believe people become stars when they die.
And for a film that purports to be all about remembering the sacrifices of World War II veterans, well...
This is really offensive. This is like... It's really painting them in a horrible life.
Let's try that.
Are we supposed to? Dear Lord! And all those little clips show you the absolute least of it. So I thought it might be fun to make a whole video about the movie and explore its myriad horrors and comedies and tragedies and all the rest. And to help me do so, I enlisted the aid of my friend Kyle. You might know him as Falcons Fighter Tales here on YouTube. If you're interested at all in military aviation history, well then he's the guy that you're going to want to check out. I'll of course link his channel in the description down below. So without further ado, I present to you, my dear viewer, although you may not want to be a viewer for all too much longer after the fact, I present to you D-Day Assassins. It is absolutely a movie. Oh, and just a little way of heads up, the video is going to have some pretty strong language, not on my part, but the movie, you'll see. It's for whatever it's worth, if that is important to you. Roll the clip. We kick things off with a recording of the famous Eisenhower Great Crusade speech, followed by some period footage alongside a beautiful rendition of After You've Gone, a popular song from 1918. Now, the intro is a little long-winded, admittedly, but it's not a bad one. It's actually pretty decent, and you would expect it to be alongside a film that's really respectful of the individual experiences through the war.
Well equipped and battle
Speech is so iconic, and it kind of hurts to see it in something like
But
this.
this is the year 1944.
Honestly, everything, like, so far feels like, oh, this is gonna be, like, a good, respectful D-Day movie, right?
I'm feeling a little optimistic about it.
And from that intro, we hop exactly where you would expect after such a thing, to an American suburban home. And it's totally a small town Americana setting. It looks very American, doesn't it? But yes, it might surprise you to learn that about half of this movie isn't actually set in World War II. We are introduced to the classic deadbeat son, whose dad is getting on him about joining the army.
Oh, Jesus.
It's afternoon. What are you doing?
Come on, guy. You graduated high school yesterday. You gotta get a job. You gotta get out of my house. I'm fed up with you already.
Been out of school over a week now. All he does
Oh my
is
God, a
run around the
whole
house,
week.
Play video
A
games.
whole week.
Kids
Hang out with
these
his friends.
days. Bunch
I
of
thought you were gonna go down to the
degenerates don't
recruitment
know
office
what
and
we
enlist.
sacrificed for in the war.
Can I take some time to think
Okay.
about it first?
We learn that the mother doesn't much like the idea of him serving, and also that the father didn't serve.
He's always wanted to join the army. He's talked about it since he was a kid.
You always talked about how you wanted to enlist, but you couldn't because of the injury.
Yeah, the dad's a bit of a horrible human being, but we're gonna see a little bit more of that later on. Now, after getting ragged on for being such a hopeless loser bum, sleeping until 1 p.m., can you believe such a thing? We cut to him sitting with his girlfriend and talking about what they want to do with their lives, how hard it is to, make these sorts of lifelong decisions at such a young age, which, fair enough. And she gives a decent piece of advice. She recommends that our protagonist speak with a local World War II vet, nicknamed Hawkeye, who can offer up some insights into what life is like in the army. Also, just as a little aside, she mentions that he happens to have a Medal of Honor, and this becomes an important part of the story just a little later on, so keep that in mind. Explicitly mentioned Medal of Honor. Oh, some smooth jazz going into, once again, a very English home. It's gonna creep up on this guy's house. What are you doing? Give him 5 seconds to come to the door. Oh, but Hawkeye isn't home just then. Instead, he's getting jumped by some, again, very American-feeling local toughs.
In the bag.
None of your fucking business.
Whoa, big dog.
Hey.
Before we go down this road, there's something you two ought to know.
Oh yeah? What's that?
I'm mean, nasty, too old to take your shit.
Look at the mouth on Grumps. Yeah, you've been fun. Almost a pity to have to rob your ass.
Uh-oh. Oh, he's got a knife.
Only one who's getting hurt is you.
Whoa! It's a very Steven Seagal kind of move.
Damn, he laid him out.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a little bit of a long one, I think. Now there are few things in this world, dear viewer, more tiresome on the body and indeed on the soul than watching bad historical films. I know it is a terrible sacrifice, and it's what makes my job so difficult. But now,
I
thanks to
still
this
need to
video's
work
sponsor,
a
I've been
lot
able to
on
find the energy
interior
to
design,
persevere through
I
it all.
suppose.
Now I don't drink coffee in the
And the
mornings, never
floor
have, but
and-
for the past couple of weeks I have been drinking this every morning. It's called Magic Mind, and each one of these little shots is filled to the brim with all sorts of vitamins and nutrients.
Ah, shit.
It
I
looks
made
like
a
there's a
terrible,
new black sheep in the Silent Hill
terrible,
franchise
terrible
with Silent Hill
mistake.
F. There's been much debate about what the F stands for. For myself, the F stands for frustration. When they revealed the new batch of upcoming Silent Hill games a few years back, Silent Hill F stood out to me as the wild card. A Silent Hill game set in 1960s Japan? How is this going to connect to the series? They have their work cut out for them. I wasn't familiar with Ryukishio 7's work at the time, but I did read his past works leading up to the game's release, which had me curious going into Silent Hill F. His writing can have great peaks with lingering lows. Could he make a concise horror story that plays to his strengths, or would some of his weaknesses prop up throughout? Like everything in Silent Hill F, it could be all over the place and a real mixed bag. Like its bizarre combat system that's brimming with jank. When it clicks, there's some enjoyment to be had with it. There's some interesting ideas with its upgrade system and its resource management. But then the game makes some baffling decisions by throwing you into forced combat scenarios like there's no tomorrow. There's some bizarre puzzles here that evoke the Silent Hill of old. Ones that threw me for a loop, playing on the highest difficulty. And then you have the story itself. One that feels less like Konami hired Ryukishio 7 to build a Silent Hill story from the ground up. Instead, it feels like he pitched a story and Konami decided to connect it to the world of Silent Hill. If they called the game, say, Kitsune When They Cry, but its own IP, I'm sure it would have gone on to build a devoted audience. But that's not what happened. This is a Silent Hill game, despite how you may feel about its connection to the series. And with that comes the issues with how Silent Hill F deviates from the series on several fronts. I can commend them for taking several risks across the board. It is the most interesting game in the series since Shattered Memories, or even as far back as Silent Hill 4. At least full titles, PT being but a playable teaser. That said, it's not like Silent Hill had many major home runs for some time now. Yes, that also includes the milquetoast Silent Hill 2 remake that I'm curious how people feel about now after the hype. Have their opinions changed about it? I am curious, though, how people will feel about Silent Hill F as the passage of time progresses. I don't foresee it being like a Downpour or Homecoming, which are like farts in the wind. It's a polarizing game, that's for sure. I can see where both sides are coming from when it comes to praises along with criticisms, which is why calling it a black sheep feels quite fitting for it. But in a different way than how Silent Hill 4 has been the black sheep of the series for so long. Going into Silent Hill F, I had a few questions in the back of my mind throughout. How is this game going to tie to Silent Hill as a whole? Is it going to feel like a Silent Hill? Is it going to be a case of it being a good game, but not a good Silent Hill game, but a bit better off as its own IP? Will the game adhere to Ryukishio 7's writing strengths? How is combat going to handle? Those previews look janky to say the least. What are the puzzles going to look like? Well, strap in. All that and more, we will be digging into.
私と二人で新しい宇宙戦争を始めようよ。柊君が望むなら相棒の役でも悪の女幹部の役でもいいんだよ。
Few notes before beginning. I kept footage to earlier game stretches up until now. This will be full spoilers throughout, so here's your warning. As you know how things can be with Unreal Engine 5, Silent Hill F did have some stuttering issues on my system. Now, to be fair, mine's is getting a bit up there in age. I have an RTX 3060, but wasn't too bad compared to other experience I've had with recent releases. Still, you know how things can be with Unreal Engine 5. Finally, thanks to the fellow Boulder Punchers who support the channel further through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Check the pinned comment or description if you're interested in supporting the channel. When making the trek down from Hinako's house into town to see her friends, there were a few things I made note of. At first, Hinako fell off in her movements. It took me a moment to realize why. It's her inertia. Modern third-person titles love to have your character linger forward after stopping movement. Not to say that there's no inertia here in Silent Hill F, but it's less than what you find in most modern games. Of all the major issues of modern game design, inertia is lower on the list, but it's nice to see Silent Hill F not be so egregious with it. As well, the game isn't too egregious with Hinako being a chatterbox during gameplay. To an extent. Her reminder to fix up a weapon or healing is a bit of a well duh kind of moment. Then again, most modern game design has developers making games that the lowest common denominator won't get frustrated by, or at least in frustrations and where to go next. Silent Hill F has plenty of frustrations as mentioned, but little on the exploration front. I did like how examining certain things in the environment would have Hinako's thoughts as opposed to talking them out loud each time. But the game does suffer from what I tend to notice in Unreal Engine games, readability of environments. Instead of looking around to find items, it's more a case of walking around a room or area, visiting all corners, waiting for the pickup indicator to appear. At least Silent Hill F doesn't resort to yellow paint or white cloth like Silent Hill 2 Remake did to guide the player. Here it's a good old-fashioned lighting to draw your attention of where to go. This is less a point of praise and more a case of Silent Hill F not falling victim to certain modern game design practices. But it does stumble when it comes to the constant mention of on-screen objectives to guide the player. One early game moment had me questioning what I was getting myself into with the first chase scene. Cutscene here would have sufficed. You don't need to remind me of the lesser stretches of Silent Hill Shattered Memories, or even worse, the fact Silent Hill Downpour exists. Making things worse is having Escape from the Fog Monster pop up on screen. Thanks game, I wouldn't have figured it out otherwise. Silent Hill F does have a few more chase scenes, which is again ill-advised, but it doesn't go overboard. Instead, it does go overboard with its combat.
Click on the parts I want to have dusted. Yes.
Like many coming into Silent Hill F, I found the preview footage of the game's combat baffling. What's with the heavy emphasis on combat? Why is it taking many cues from the Souls games? Konami and Neobards did push back saying the comparison was disingenuous. Stamina bar plus dodging doesn't exactly make it a Souls-like game. Of course, as we all know, before Demon's Souls, games never had dodging and stamina bars. Never before that in the history of gaming. Ever. But I can understand the comparisons, it's an easy one to make, especially the more I also played Silent Hill F. So how did I find the combat? Very much a mixed bag, like all elements of Silent Hill F. It's awkward and janky, but in a different way than what you find in survival horror titles. Sometimes I would gel with it. I enjoyed the upgrade system that gave the player a decent amount of flexibility. I at times enjoyed the amount of decision-making combat can throw your way. I did find the combat system gelled well with the boss fights, learning the ins and outs of their patterns and coming out on top. They did a decent job with them, but there's plenty of questionable decisions to go along with the combat. Far greater emphasis on something that goes against survival horror.
Rid of all of those
more into eye rolls
dang
and
dirty artifacts.
Sure, you can run past enemies,
We
but
don't
not all
like
the time,
those around
especially
here.
the later stretches of Silent Hill F where combat gauntlets become mandatory. The game comes to a grinding halt. I will note that I played with combat on hard for most of the game. When I saw story mode as the only option at first, it made me think it was game journalist mode. Why they didn't call it normal, I'm not sure. Silent Hill F forgoes the use of guns and focuses only on melee, which was a nice change of pace. You'll have smaller weapons like baseball bats, knives, steel pipes. We'll also find heavy weapons like axes and sledgehammers, ones with far greater wind-up times but do far more damage. While Hinako is athletic, or at least on the track and field front, it is a bit of a stretch when it comes to this high schooler wheeling around the sledgehammer or axe. Of course, there are other combat choices that are far more egregious, but we'll get to that in a bit. Silent Hill F makes use of everyone's favorite game mechanic, weapon durability. Keep an eye for toolkits to patch them up or find a new weapon lying around. Now, weapon durability isn't new to the series, stretching as far back as Silent Hill 4, but it's very much a mechanic that's best left unimplemented.
Oh, yeah.
When you ask me to name a game that benefited from weapon durability, the only real one that pops to mind is Dead Rising. That said, I didn't find it to be too annoying here. One reason is having to take advantage of high and low weapon durability with the game's own memory system, but hold that thought for now. You have a light and heavy attack option. Feel free to swing away at enemies, but there are better options, that being the counters and focus attacks. Of course, if you're in a pinch, you have a dodge as well. All this requires you to keep an eye on your health, your stamina, and your sanity bar. When I saw the sanity bar tutorial pop up, there was a great level of intrigue. When I think sanity bar, I think of Eternal Darkness messing with the player. Is this something they kept as a surprise and didn't talk about in the lead up to the game? Well, no, that's not the case. It does not behave like that one iota. They should have called it something else. More or less, it's a glorified mana or focus meter, but something that does add some decent decision making to Silent Hill F's combat. Enemies will have varying levels of counter windows in their attacks, some with a single attack, some within a combo or at the end of it. While some enemy combos can get into Elden Ring-like territory with a number of swings in their combos, at least they're predictable. The game doesn't stoop to delayed attacks that Elden Ring love to go to the well to far too often. If you get a counter hit in, depending on the enemy, you'll stun them for a time. Follow-up attacks do more damage to stunned enemies. Some of these counter windows are quite tight. As well, not all enemies will give you a counter window. These puppet-like enemies with their odd movement patterns can be hard to get a read on. Is that next attack going to have a counter window, or will I need to dodge instead? A well-timed dodge does replenish your stamina in full, which you'll need to keep an eye on in combat, making the Souls comparison.
So, the circus has come to Clacton. Dan and I did one of our political chats discussing how it has led up to Nigel Farage resigning as an MP. So now he is just the leader of Reform UK. He's not even like the bailiff of somewhere or something like this now. He's not anything. And in a week or two, we'll probably get the dates of the by-election announced. And there'll probably be about 6 weeks until the by-election is actually fought. So if you want to know how it's come to this, go and watch that. But this is what they want it to be. Right, Nigel Farage looking like an out-of-touch fool on a stage next to a comedy candidate, and that would work if they didn't back the comedy candidate. If the comedy candidate actually wasn't one of their guys, it turns out he is one of their guys, and it turns out they are backing him. And so, actually, the judo flip they thought they'd done on Farage isn't going to work. No. They couldn't resist. Now, just to be clear, most people think it's actually a good idea to boycott this, because this was called for Farage to defend himself against allegations in a parliamentary investigation by the Standards Commission into scrutiny over donations, a £5 million donation made to him that was within 12 months of him standing for an MP, standing to be an MP in Clacton. I don't actually think that Nigel Farage did anything particularly malicious here, actually, because it wasn't clear that he was going to stand as an MP in Clacton. That seems to have been a fairly spur-of-the-moment decision, and he claims to have had legal advice. Whether he's right or wrong in it, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the standards, procedures, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, this all seems a bit trivial to me. But it seems that Farage probably pulled the trigger a bit too quickly. This would only have kicked the can down the road, so even if he had won this, there's still going to be... The investigation is just paused while he's not an MP. It continues if he becomes an MP again. So
also as well, in this case, it's this particular thing that the Standards Committee are focusing on. But if it wasn't this thing, it would have just been another thing and another thing until they got him.
Yeah, and as we said in the political chat, the media is just basically weaponizing the sort of third of the population who are economic grievance mongers, the sort of Gary's economics audience. Yeah. And at the end of the day, Farage could just turn around and say, don't care, not my problem. It's this particular thing that has been wheedling away at him, and it's been diminishing him. You can feel the diminishment. He's lost his swashbuckling edge, and he's been getting angry at the media, and he's been losing his temper. And so they've scented blood in the water, and they've been going after him. They've got. I don't agree with that. I think it's terrible, actually. But anyway, so about 37% of people think that everyone, yeah, you're right to boycott, but 25% of people think no, 38% of people don't know or don't care. So this isn't exactly a slam dunk either way for anyone, because I think Faraz was expecting it to just be a slam dunk, and on the expectation, oh well, it's an election, you will come and contest it. Well, Restore chose not to contest it, and everyone else followed our lead on that, and so actually, it's kind of, in a way, it kind of has left Nigel in this position. But again, this requires them not to endorse the bin candidate, which they are. So anyway, so here's an article from a chap who alleges the Christian Calgi, senior correspondent, political correspondent for the Daily Mail, says, speaking to the Daily Mail from one of his favourite pubs in Essex, in Clacton, basically Farage now has to take this seriously. Well, really, he's the only one who has to take this seriously. The rest of us, who have no dog in this fight, we can just laugh at the circus from the audience, as you would expect this to have to be. Asked if he's bracing for the hustings against Count Bimface, he said, no, it'd be silly. I'm not going to do that, but I'm asking for an endorsement of me as a person and our agenda for change. Okay, well, obviously, but that doesn't change the fact that the Parliamentary Standards Committee may find you guilty for not having declared this £5 million donation. And so asked if he considered the possibility of fighting as the only proper candidate, Farage said, no, of course not. Why would they not contest an election? It's a real election. It's like, well, that's the point. You thought you were sort of, pulling a trap card on them or whatever. I can't remember, Pokemon or whatever it is. You thought you were being clever, and well, actually, they don't have to comply with you. And so now you're kind of left at the center of a mistake of your own making. And now you're left contesting with Count Binface. And so he argues that, well, what they're doing is showing contempt for the electorate in Clacton, because, these are real people, this is a real election. And it's like, yeah, but if you have to say this, it probably isn't, though, right? Nobody is, anyone who has to declare I am the king is not really the king.
No.
And Farage being like, this is a real election. It's like, no, it's not.
Then where are the other candidates from the official parties?
Exactly. This didn't have to be called. You called it as a method of protecting yourself. So it's actually not for the people of Clacton, because you're obviously arguing you should elect me to be the MP of Clacton. Well, you already were the MP of Clacton.
Yeah.
So there's no...
This morning, the ongoing investigation into a deadly confrontation in Florida, a parking space dispute turning deadly outside of Walmart.
Man made it 62 years on this planet and lost all of it over a parking spot at a Walmart. Not a home invasion, not a robbery, a parking spot in Florida where you should walk into that lot assuming everybody in it is carrying.
Based on what I know and what we can see here, this looks like self-defense to me.
All that we know is that she's a woman. Now, she was arrested on the scene, taken into custody, but she has since been released. And as of right now, Friday, July 3rd, 2026, there are no charges, and there probably won't be any charges because this, in my humble opinion, is a clear-cut case of self-defense.
Wisconsin's got to be honest, I think this was a good shoot on her part. Anyone who continues to advance towards someone trying to fend them off with a gun should be considered unstable and dangerous. I mean, that's difficult to argue with. If you have a gun pointed at someone and they're advancing on you, they're not advancing on you because they have your best interest at heart.
I probably wouldn't be continuing to approach somebody who's pointing a weapon at me. That's just dumb. Okay, I'm not going to victim blame here, but this is not a smart move. Because I have a duty to be honest, even if many others on the internet aren't. I think this should go to trial, and I think that it should be established that she feared for her life.
So today we're going to go over this case in Florida, and you are going to decide if this woman has a viable self-defense claim or not, based on Florida law. All right, so today we're in the state of Florida, North Lauderdale in Broward County. The victim is a 60-year-old Army veteran, and the shooter is identified as an adult female. Now, before we get into the facts of the case, this would be a good time to go over Florida law so we know what we're looking for when we see the video. So, the 5 core elements of self-defense in most jurisdictions in the United States, and even in Florida, are innocence, imminence, avoidance, proportionality, and reasonableness. Okay, so now let's look how state law defines these 5 elements. Here is Florida State Statute 776.012, use or threaten use of force in defense of persons. This is Florida's core self-defense statute that allows you to, quote, defend himself or herself or another against others' imminent use of unlawful force. So if you read through the statute, there are about 5 elements that a person who's claiming self-defense has to satisfy. So the first element is innocence. The person claiming self-defense usually cannot be the initial aggressor unless they clearly withdrew or the other person escalated the fight. Now, Florida law goes a little deeper into this issue in section 776.041. In a nutshell, what this is saying is that if the person who's claiming they're using self-defense was the initial aggressor, then self-defense would not be available to them. Quote, initially provokes the use or threatened use of force against himself or herself, unless, and as you could see in section B, it says, in good faith, the person withdraws from physical contact with the assailant and indicates clearly to the assailant that he or she desires to withdraw and terminate the use or threaten use of force, but the assailant continues or resumes to use or threaten use of force. If you're the initial aggressor, you cannot claim self-defense, but if you clearly withdraw and communicate that withdrawal to the person who you're fighting against, then you can regain the use of self-defense if that person keeps coming. The next factor is imminence. The threat has to be happening now, or is it about to happen? Self-defense doesn't apply to revenge, punishment, or future threats, things that are happening in the moment. And you don't actually have to be harmed before you can employ self-defense. You can employ self-defense to the threat of harm. The next element is proportionality. The defensive force must match the threat. You can't bring a gun to a slap fight. This is why Carmelo Anthony is doing 35 years in prison, because his response to a simple assault was employing deadly physical force. You push me, I stab you in the heart. Now, the next element is what's known as avoidance or retreat. Now, in some states, a person is legally required to retreat to safety if it's available to them. But in Florida, it's what's known as a stand your ground state, where there is no duty to retreat if a person is lawfully present and not engaged in criminal activity. Now, the way this would work in Florida is that if you're in the safety of your car and someone's threatening you, you open up your car door and step outside. If that person attacks you, you are able to stand your ground. But in a state like New York, you have a duty to retreat. So by getting out of the car, you now lose your right to self-defense. And last but not least, reasonable. The belief that the force was necessary must be reasonable under the circumstances. The question is not just whether the person was scared, but whether a reasonable person in that situation would see this threat at this particular threat level. And this points me back to the Carmelo Anthony situation, because the force that Carmelo Anthony used in that situation was not reasonable under those circumstances. Essentially, it's the difference between the Carmelo Anthony events happening in the dark alley in the middle of the night on some street corner versus at a school event. All right, so now that you have some understanding of the law, because we went through the Florida state statutes, we went through the 5 general elements of self-defense, and now we're going to apply everything we learned to the events at hand. So first, here's a quick message from this video sponsor, ZocDoc. Okay, raise your hand if you've been putting off doctor's appointments, dental cleanings, annual checkups, eye exam. Yeah, my hands are raised too. When something feels off, I'll Google it. Then I'll plus specialties. You can search
someone outside in the parking lot. Both out there were fighting over a parking spot.
Authorities say the altercation started about 5 minutes earlier, with the 2 drivers fighting over a parking spot. DeGuglielmo then parked his car, partially blocking the spot, and walked into the store. Witnesses say the woman then managed to slip into the spot anyway. The woman is then seen getting out of her car, phone in one hand, gun in the other, yelling at DeGuglielmo, who appears to be yelling back.
So I can pause the video here because this invokes our first element, innocence. So just so we're clear on what's going on, he's blocked the spot so no one else can get in that spot, and he goes and walks off toward the store. She then maneuvers her car to get into the spot that he was trying to deny from her. Now, after seeing her obtain the spot, he comes back and starts screaming, yelling at her. She then gets out of the car and arms herself. Now, at this point in time, we don't know what was being said. Was he threatening to kill her, or was she threatening to kill him? We just don't know. But we do know we have a man yelling at a woman about a parking spot, and she is getting out of the car, which she has a legal right to do, to try to go into the store, which I'm assuming that's why she's parking there. But she is concerned enough to grab her gun. So now, since we don't know what's being said, it's possible that he could have said some things that make him the initial aggressor, or it's possible she could have said some things that makes her the initial aggressor. But with that fact pretty muddy, I would say it's up to the prosecutor to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she wasn't the initial aggressor. And based on these facts, these limited amount of facts, I don't believe the prosecutor would be able to go that far. But let's continue.
He's then seen walking toward her as she points the gun at him. She backs up several times, gun leveled. She retreats around a car. He follows.
Now, ABC cut the part off where he follows her around the car. So I'm going to play that from Fox News. It actually has no audio, but here is what happened. For those of you who listen to the podcast, the woman has the gun pointed to the man. He raises his arms and walks toward her, closing distance. She backs up, pointing the gun continuously. We have no audio, but she is recording it on her phone. He points at her. She then continues to back up. He then continues to close the distance, pointing at her while she seemingly is trying to disengage. He turns. He's still arguing. He's still pointing. And now there's a car between them. He then goes around the back of the car, again, closing the distance on her while she still has the gun seemingly trained on him. She now comes around the car. Again, this is not her car, and is still pointing the gun at the suspect. The suspect is still waving his hands, and he walks away. Now, at this point in time, I'm stopping the video because she's still pointing the gun. But remember, this white car is her car. So if she's going to get into that car, she's got to get into the front seat. The guy then comes back into frame after she seemingly says something to him. Now, eyewitnesses at the scene said while she was backing up and retreating, she was also giving verbal commands, telling him to stay back, telling him she doesn't want to shoot him, those type of things, making it very clear that she wants to disengage from this.
An eyewitness says the woman repeatedly warned him she'll shoot if he keeps coming at her. He appears to leave, but then quickly returns. And then she opens fire, shooting to Guglielmo.
Now, we have to speak again to the first factor of innocence. Remember, section 776.041 said that even if you can make an argument that the person who's claiming self-defense was the initial aggressor, they can regain the right to use self-defense if, in good faith, the person withdraws from physical contact with the assailant and indicates clearly to the assailant that he or she desires to withdraw and terminate the use or threaten use of force. That seems like what the witnesses said happened, and that seems like what the video portrays. But the assailant continues or resumes to use or threatens to use force. So the second factor we have to address is imminence. Was the threat of deadly physical force imminent at the moment she fired the gun? Now remember, the prosecutor is going to have to prove that there was
Zohran Hamdani got elected to fix New York's housing affordability problems, but it's only gotten worse since he took office. New numbers show the median Manhattan rent has hit a new record high at just over $5,000 a month.
So, after freezing rents for 2 million apartments, New York's mayor has declared the city affordable, but $5,000 rents? That's not affordable. Instead, these skyrocketing costs are the obvious result of an ever-decreasing housing supply triggered by laws that guarantee people locked-in rents forever unless they move out, so they don't. And since this stops landlords from making money doing what they do for a living, nobody wants to build in New York anymore, creating a nightmare the communists never anticipated.
Of course this failed. You're doubling down on stupid. More regulation, more government control has never, ever led to lower prices.
And we're so excited that the Rent Guidelines Board decided to freeze the rent not just for 1 year, but for the first time in New York City history for 2 years.
I cannot tell you what this means to senior citizens. We're on a fixed income.
The prices of everything has gone up.
What the mayor doesn't say is that these buildings will soon turn into ghettos and slums and that everybody will continue leaving New York.
They are putting rent controls in place and capping the ability of private owners to charge a certain amount. However, they are requiring them to modernize and upgrade the apartments. And so what has happened in New York is that these property owners are saying, we're not going to upgrade the apartment, we're not going to fill it, we'll take the tax write-off.
And as this spreads throughout the country, very much like an uncontrollable form of cancer, the country itself will be taken down.
So frozen rents are going to be phase one in the total destruction of New York's housing market. And what nobody's talking about is that if you're gonna freeze rents on 2 million apartments, landlords whose costs are not frozen at all, well, they've gotta get that money from somewhere. And the place they get it from brings us to phase two. You see, most landlords own a hodgepodge of apartments. They've got free market apartments inside buildings that also have these stabilized frozen rent apartments. And if your neighbor has one of those, but your landlord's costs to run the building keep going up, he's got to get the money from somewhere, and he's going to get it by raising your rent. So now you get to pay for your neighbor's frozen rent, but that's not all, because landlords are limited in how much they can raise your rent if you're already living in a free market apartment, which brings us to phase three. And this is where things get truly frightening, because in the ground floor of most of these buildings, you'll see something else called a storefront. And inside you'll find a small business, a bodega, a pizza parlor run by someone living the American dream in spite of New York's communist attempts to destroy it and steal it. Well, guess what? That person's rent is not frozen either, which means it's going to go up in order to subsidize the 2 million apartments that now have their rates locked in forever. And that brings us to the real reason New York is about to experience the worst affordability disaster in American history. The prices you pay for your apartment, those might be set in stone, but when you go to the grocery store, when you buy anything, when you do anything, all of those costs are about to go through the roof. And that explains why in New York you see a tale of two cities all falling apart at the exact same time. You've got millions of people walking the streets, yet there are empty storefronts everywhere because the businesses inside couldn't afford to stay, which makes no sense. You'd think with all this foot traffic there should be a thriving economy, but we don't have that at all in New York. We've got an economy that is imploding in real time. Nobody can afford anything, nobody can run anything, and the free grocery stores that cost $30 million each to build, those aren't gonna help either. But in spite of all this, the mayor is out there celebrating the poverty everyone in New York is about to experience, except for him.
Yes.
I wanted to come and bring everybody a happy rent freeze cake. I know it's not yet 9 o'clock. It might be a little early for cake.
We don't care. Happy rent freeze.
Happy rent freeze.
Really, you don't know what that means.
Yes, that's right. So all of
Especially
us.
when you're on a fixed ticket. So you know I was getting out of bed to see me this morning.
Anyone would like a slice?
Yes.
I'm so glad to celebrate this morning with all of you, because at the heart of this are tenants. And you all have helped to build this city. You've given stability to this city. It's time the city brings some stability to you. And we're so...
But how's that gonna happen? How is there
yes.
gonna be stability just because people have frozen rent? The costs associated with running these buildings, those haven't been frozen. We're literally watching the communists try to have their cake and eat it too, and as you're about to see, it's just not gonna work. It's already not working. You've got people here overjoyed at the idea that they won't have to write an extra rent check for increases that in the past have been 1% to 2% of what they pay on an annual basis, which is already a bargain deal. Now, yes, if you're on a fixed income, every dollar counts, absolutely, but when those dollars come out of your grocery budget instead of your rent budget, who's better off? absolutely nobody. So there's not going to be stability. People are going to experience more instability. And if that grocery store that you were shopping at down the street just shut down because it's closed and can't afford to operate, now you got to travel further to feed yourself. And the crazy thing about this is anyone with any experience running a building in New York City would have known what a disaster this was. Watch.
Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations to all the renters out there. You guys did it. You guys got the rent frozen, and for the next 2 years, there will be no increases. Perfect. Now, that doesn't mean that the expenses have gone down. That doesn't mean that taxes, insurance, water, energy, labor, none of that went down. So I'm not sure if we were struggling to make the numbers before, I'm not sure how we're going to fix that boiler, how we're going to provide you hot water, fix that broken elevator.
So your rent might be frozen, but you too might be frozen because the landlord can't afford to heat your building anymore in the wintertime or give you enough hot water. The costs to run these places, those go up every single year. Also, if your landlord happens to be a millionaire, the mayor has already said they're not paying their fair share, so their personal taxes are gonna go up. Guess where they're gonna get the money to pay those? And the worst part about this is whether you live in a free market apartment where the landlord can charge anything, or you live in one of these stabilized frozen rent apartments, in a lot of buildings, the property owner is required to pay for the hot water, the cold water, and the heat, no matter how much of it you use. And since the city delivers some of these utilities, let's just say that they haven't frozen those costs either. Check this out.
On July 1st, New York City will raise water and sewer rates another 6%. All right, 6% may not sound too crazy, but here's why it's a problem. This isn't the first or second increase. In fact, this is the 6th straight increase in 5 years. Last year's increase was 8.5%, and in just a few weeks, another 6%. In the past 5 years alone, New York City's water and sewer rates will have increased 35%.
Wow.
The building didn't get any bigger. Tenants aren't using 35% more water. The bill just keeps going up. Water isn't the only cost increasing. Property taxes, labor, insurance, utilities. This is what financial distress looks like.
And here's the problem that nobody's talking about. When rents weren't frozen on these 2 million rent-regulated apartments that the mayor can have a rent freeze happen in, the increases that these landlords were getting, they were getting 1% to 2% a year anyways, which didn't even cover the costs that were rising beneath them. And now those increases are a flat zero for the next 2 years, which just makes the whole thing worse. But now the irony is the same mayor that is freezing rents because landlords are greedy is then jacking up the costs to operate those buildings through the city's own water utility that these landlords have to pay for. They have to pay for the person who pays 0 rent increases over the next 2 years, use all the water they want. There's nothing they can do about it. And when buildings...
Oh, this is so bad.
All right, but we have enough of this joking, enough of these your mama jokes that were so common in the last live stream. We have to talk about something much more serious and not funny at all. The fact that Muhammad had a micro penis.
He did.
He absolutely did, and we can show it from the sources as to why this. So if something comes from a law, then whatever personal defects, hang-ups, preoccupations the humans might have should not affect the eternal book. Because remember that the word of Allah is eternal. It should not have been shaped by man, and it certainly should not have been shaped by one person's obsession and preoccupations. If we can show that Islam would not have taken the form that it has taken were it not for Muhammad's personal defect, then we can show that it came from Muhammad's own mind. Because to be obsessed with a defect, and especially a defect like this, in a culture like the one Muhammad came from, is very understandable. This is a culture that valued virility over all. Women were like much less worthwhile than men, although not treated as badly as they were after Islam. They were still treated quite badly. They were looked down upon, but especially being a defective man was an especially bad position to be in. And if we can show that this shaped the introduction of Islam, how it was introduced, how it progressed, what it teaches now for this world, and the rewards that it promises later in paradise, then you can tell that this comes from the mind of a man who had these issues. And that's what I am planning on doing today. So it is a bit of a ha-ha tee-hee subject, but it has very serious and important implications for Islam, and it reveals that Islam comes from just an ordinary guy.
If I recall correctly, a little while back, were you saying that it was the Andrew Wilson debate that made you start thinking about this and notice things from the Muslim sources?
Yes, it actually was, and I will kind of show that as we go along, where I realized that he had to be right about, said blind pigs get acorns, right? And he had to be right about Muhammad's particular physical problem. I had already realized that he definitely had a physical problem, but I had guessed that it was a different physical problem called hypospadias. But I believe that the medical condition called a micropenis, which is less than 2.95 inches fully deployed, is going to be the more accurate. I'm trying to avoid YouTube freaking out. Is going to be the more accurate.
Don't worry about YouTube. I didn't even bother trying to monetize this one. So you're good. Should we go ahead and check out that some of that Andrew Wilson clip? Because it was pretty darn funny. So guys, this is so Mary knows the Muslim sources really well, and Andrew Wilson brought up an interesting argument at some point and made Mary think, that does fit a lot of interesting things in the Muslim sources. And guys, we want to remember, for the future, we want to remember Andrew Wilson for the good times when he was making funny points and making us crack up laughing, and not for him destroying his entire group. Yeah, you want to remember people for the positive things. But anyway, here is let me get the clip here.
Okay.
This is Andrew Wilson. He was debating Muslim Lantern, and Muslim Lantern agreed to debate him on Muhammad's relationship
Add solid
with
color
Aisha.
to everything.
Sneeko was moderating, and like the funniest part, apart from this just being a hilarious point, was that Sneeko couldn't help but laughing, and he kept trying to cover it up, and he's a Muslim, and he's got a guy in front of him saying that Muhammad had a micro pee-pee, and Sneeko couldn't stop giggling to himself and so on. Pretty crazy times. But guys, so the general idea here is Muslim sources say that Muhammad consummated a marriage with a 9-year-old. And for a while, Muslims tried to say, no, that never happened. Eventually, we kept quoting their sources, showing them their sources, showing everyone their sources, and serious Muslims were forced to admit that Muhammad consummated marriage with a 9-year-old. But their defense is that he didn't harm her. It didn't harm her, so it was okay, because even though she was 9, it didn't harm her. And so Andrew Wilson points out, well, if you're saying it didn't harm her, then Muhammad didn't harm, and when he penetrated a 9-year-old, it didn't harm her. What can we deduce from that? And so Andrew Wilson's going to break it down. Let's check out a little bit of this just for the historical background and for the important point he is making here.
Okay, opening statement from Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, so I've tried to keep the opening statement somewhat concise. That way I'm not gish-galloping all over the place, and that way my opponent can take a single point at a time. I think that that's the fair way to do things. I also have a visual demonstration here. In regards to the idea of child brides and prepubescent sex of children, my opponent has stated, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not saying that these are his exact words, sex with a child is okay in a marriage context as long as it doesn't physically or psychologically damage the child. Though he didn't use the specific word child, I'm inserting this word because I think that under the criteria he presented, it would qualify as a child.
Don't say the word inserting, Andrew. It's not good here. And
by the way, just to be clear,
before
there's
Zoot jokes,
absolutely nothing Nothing in Islamic sources that says anything about psychological harm to any woman ever and why it should matter. Psychological harm is not a concept in Islam.
Yeah, total nonsense. Made up nonsense, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Made up nonsense.
But even then, let's let them go with that.
Though I don't think he owned the position, opting instead to make claims the semantics were incorrect, I'm ready to defend those semantics. I have a clip here for proof that this is indeed what my opponent has said on this topic, which I'm happy to send over as soon as the opening is done. To give you an overview of the absurdity of this position, Muslim Lantern and God Logic were attempting to argue the position of sex with 9-year-olds.
Was 9.
Yeah, so married, as long as it's to the appropriate person, as long as he doesn't marry her to a black man if she's an Arab woman, or a poor man if he's rich, then it stands.
Yeah, but I'm saying also when there's hadith where Aisha asks, okay, what if she's shy and she doesn't know how to answer? And it says that her silence is her consent.
And that's for all virgins who are older.
Yeah, for all. So you could have a young girl, she's 5, 6, 7 years old, scared of her father, not saying anything, and she gets married off to a 50, 60-year-old, just literally sold off like that.
And
so
by the way,
there is no age. There is no age.
And what is required for her to consent is for her to be silent for a moment. So you will see many of these weddings where they haul off 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, not very often 9-year-olds, but little girls. They haul them off because you can't be married totally without your consent when you are above the age of 9. So you get hauled off, you get thrown into a room, they have a big party, and all the women are like, oh, calm down, girl, dear, just calm down, stop crying, okay? It'll be all right, stop crying. And then as soon as she stops crying, that is her moment of consent. She has stopped crying and screaming, so now the marriage is solemnized. Like she can say no, but she stops saying no and falls silent. That is consent. That is consent, and you see it. You can go see documentaries about girls there's a documentary about girls from Myanmar getting married off after they become refugees in Bangladesh, and shows exactly this happening. Girls being kidnapped in Kyrgyzstan, and exactly this happening. Because her silence is her consent, so just get her to shut up for a second, and she's married.
Yeah.
We do have this really weird comment from a Muslim. Allah Only Amazing God says, with lies, Christianity dies. D. Wood was a Muslim and satanic worshiper. Almost like you're using those as synonyms. Muslim and satanic worshiper. That's weird. He have been exposed. That's good to know. And then Thaddeus replied, why are you afraid of Muhammad's micro member?
There we go.
Very rude, very rude. All right, let's check out Sneeko here.
But let us begin with some visual examples of what this has to mean. A prepubescent vaginal depth, which I'm going to represent here with this socket. It's about 2 inches,
Look at Sneeko.
Just so you understand. This is the average depth of the vagina in a prepubescent girl and girls in early puberty, which really doesn't stop until you reach the end of puberty, where it ends up being somewhere around 4.5 to 5.5 inches. I have the medical documentation to prove this. The average Arab's penis is about 5.5 inches. I'm going to represent that here.
Watch Sneeko, guys. I mean, you want to watch Andrew because he's giving his visual aids, but he's pointing out, okay, you're saying Muhammad did not harm a 9-year-old. The length of the vaginal canal of a 9-year-old is 2 inches. Okay, so Muhammad didn't harm her. Good to know.
Yeah.
What's up?
And to be clear, part of what happens in puberty is that the skin and other soft organs and things around the vaginal area, the walls get much thicker, much more elastic, in order that intercourse is not a problem, let's say. That intercourse is not going to hurt anyone, normal intercourse.
Won't destroy her.
It won't destroy her. But before then, it's fragile, thin, it's not meant for penetration. It's not meant for intercourse. So those physical changes have not yet happened to the walls of the vaginal canal. That they are frail. The flesh is not able to handle it. And so if there was a strong mismatch, there would be a great deal of trauma, as we find in Islamic law often happened. There are many provisions in Islamic law about what happens when you, calculate wrong, and that little girl that you thought could bear the weight of man gets torn such that she has a fistula between her vaginal canal and her anus, so that for the rest of her life she leaks feces. This is something that they needed to have laws about in Islamic countries. In every single fiqh, there are laws about what the status of a woman is when she was taken as a little girl. This happens to her and she is torn. And
hey, Mary,
remember,
I have a question. Let's say a husband does cause that in a little girl. What's the punishment for that for the husband?
It depends on, there's never a severe one, and it depends on which the school of fiqh it is. In the ones in which he is still allowed to have intercourse with her afterwards, there's no punishment. He usually can't divorce her, but that's it. So,
and is it usually reported?
No, it's who would it be reported to? That's within his rights. He just made an oopsie. So the punishment is that he can't divorce her. That's it. And other ones, he has to pay her mahr and then give her food and shelter for the rest of her life. So give her a little hut somewhere. But you have to understand what this is like for a person like that at this time. There is no way to close off the anal cavity any longer. So as you digest food, it just seeps out of you for the rest of your life. And this is still a rather common trauma that happens in Islamic countries during birth because of their female genital mutilation practices, which cause scar tissue, which then cause tearing. But when you are talking about men owing women, it's always because of them causing the harm when they have intercourse, which is directly connected to having intercourse with little girls who have not developed elastic vaginal developed walls yet, and men are of more normal sizes.
I read some horror stories about this, like in the world today, in Northern Africa. Read stories. There's a medical organization that goes around giving surgeries to wives who have gone through this, giving surgeries to repair them from the fistulas. And so,
that's the Fistula Hospital in Addis. I don't know how to say it. The capital of Ethiopia, isn't it? I have donated to that cause before. Those are mostly from birth, but again, that's mostly caused by female genital mutilation. Even those birth issues. The
ones I was reading about was from husbands, and it was seriously messed up because they were talking about this. You're basically like unclean to your husband, but you're still married to him, and so you just like cook and stuff like that. Anyway, they're excited that they get to have the surgery and stuff. But anyway, so I was reading one, and they gave the woman the surgery to repair her, but they told her, and they made it very clear to her husband, she needs time to heal. And he went and had sex with her that night and completely tore it open. And they're like, if you can't wait one night, then we're not. There's nothing we can do here. And it's like that. That's the complete lack of self-control and so on. Anyway, sick stuff.
Yeah, they have no reason to have. They have no reason to have self-control. There's no idea in the mind that self-control is something that they should have.
Oh, men don't have
convert your
self-control.
ideas.
No.
Yeah. You get lower your gaze, but then you get Allah has ordained for you all the zina that you're going to do, and it's never zina with your wife, no matter what. Never.
Yeah, never. What is very disturbing is that this topic, while you're gonna have Dawa people and other Muslims being mad that we're talking about this, that Christians have a stream on this is not something foreign in Islamic communities. Matter of a fact, the whole idea where I remember the very first time I was listening to a stream and David mentioned about how Muslims have laws about making sure you do not make the two holes one. That is something I heard when I was young, just in passing, watching TV, or during Friday sermons at the mosque. These things are common because this idea of marrying people young is not something that's foreign to people, especially during the time where you have a lot of Muslims that would come. Like right now, the Muslims that here, at least in the West, a lot of them have come from like what, first, second generation American Muslims, the people that ended up growing up during that time. A lot of these Muslim people have either just come from overseas and they bring in the stuff that they have brought up. Right now, society's, I guess, because of the internet now, where you have to come up and make up excuses and they can't hide things. But the idea is like all this to say, there's so much that I remember hearing as while I was Muslim in Muslim circles. Now outside the Muslim circle, you're hearing the whole contradictions, like being in both worlds right now.
Yeah.
It's like
where they tell you, no, that isn't it.
Yeah. All the like the utter like blatant lies, because it's a fact. It's like without lies, Islam in fact dies. It's like, and it's like they know this, but they choose still to believe it, and all for what? The detriment of little girls, the psychological abuse of little girls. For what? Because they want to keep everything in the family, whether it be land, their money, whatever it is, just here it's sick, it's twisted.
Terrible. Yeah, they give women
I'm just doing a bit of a
which is
looking
the
at
Taliban is Deobandi, but they aren't the only
old school
Deobandi
proportions.
folks. They give a book called The Heavenly Ornaments to women when they marry, that talks about all of their obligations and this, that, and the other. It includes in there as something that's very useful for women to know the rules of what happens and when you're unclean and when you should do this and when you should do that if you have happened to have a fistula caused by your husband having sex with you because you were married as a tiny little girl.
So, they can marry you off while you're still in the womb. They can marry you off while, if a girl, okay, for example, while my mother was pregnant with me, my father already had my marriage arranged to my cousin. These things are done. That is the reason why my father and I estranged. It's not even because I left Islam. This thing is done constantly.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Let's check out Andrew's.
Arab's penis is about 5.5 inches. I'm going to represent that here. Again, we're just talking about averages. I'm going to put these side by side so that you can understand the distinction.
Look at Sneeko, everyone.
In here, you see is 5.5 inches. You see this is 2 inches. Okay. To express what this looks like in comparison, it's very important that you visually understand this.
This is Sneeko, the Muslim revert hero of Dawa, covering his mouth to cover himself, cracking up at Andrew Wilson, doing the math and concluding that Muhammad had a micro PP. But let's see.
Express what this looks like in comparison. It's very important that you visually understand this. In order for Muhammad, who I think definitionally would be a pedophile, to have done zero damage to Aisha, which is in conforming with the Muslim lantern conditions of, quote, not hurting the girl. In this case, I would say Muhammad's penis would only be able to be roughly 1.8 inches in order to not actually 1.8 damage this woman. 1.8 inches. Now, the reason for that is because we have the medical documentation of what is vaginal tearing and what vaginal tearing would be inside the wife. If he was anywhere even close to the average, it would cause severe damage. So we either have to conclude the damage threshold that ML is talking about here is much different than how ML presents it, or that Muhammad had a way smaller than average penis. I'm willing to accept either correction.
Did you catch that, guys? So he pointed out that, okay, if you're saying you didn't harm or damage her, then either you need to clarify, like, okay, he damaged her, but not to this extent. You need to modify what you're saying by damage. He would obviously damage her if her vaginal canal is 2 inches long and he was like average size or something like that. So, what is that horrible typing? So either you need to clarify and explain what you mean by damage, or Muhammad was less than 2 inches. Take your pick. He said he's fine with either one. He's fine with either one.
Fully deployed.
Yeah. So take your pick. Either he did damage her, but you're saying it didn't reach some threshold, like massive damage that like destroyed her life or something like that. Or he actually did not damage her and he just did not damage a woman or girl whose vaginal canal is about 2 inches long.
To further demonstrate the truth of this claim, you can find more info on this in the growth of the birth canal in adolescent girls. This is done by Marquisa Lavelle. She's a PhD. She goes further into why pregnancy at a young age is generally damaging to a woman, but it's also demonstrating the physiology and the difference of canals and the difference in penis length, the difference in vaginal length when it comes to people engaging with child brides. She goes into various problems of the pelvis during childbirth for prepubescent girls. And here, if you'll humor me, I'm going to give you some highlights. Again, trying to keep this somewhat brief.
It's interesting to see how almost all angles is based around the same movement.
Years, even past the first age of your period, then at age 18 years old. That's why we have a standard for this, by the way. People pretend it's arbitrary. It's not arbitrary. We have standards for a reason. If you even go by region, this is true. Basically, all over the world, this is true, that prepubescent girls are still going through.
I'm impressed that Muslim Lantern is remaining so calm right now. I mean, he's got Andrew saying all this stuff. You had Sneeko giggling himself silly and trying to having to cover his mouth. And Muslim Lantern's just cool as a cucumber there. Maybe he doesn't understand exactly what's going on and how his prophet's getting wrecked. But, hey, hats off to him for that.
Still going through puberty, and so their canals are growing properly. At 18, only minor differences are observable in the size of the birth canal. This is important. At 18, only minor differences are between women in any way substantial in the birth canal. Although girls with early periods are appreciably shorter and heavier, their late maturing counterparts at this age, there really is no distinct or huge variable difference. That's why waiting until that age is usually a good idea. She goes into the various problems of this. Now, to be clear, my job is to defend, to attack this position. His job is to defend it, okay? I need you to understand that I'm not going to go with any whataboutisms. So if you say, what about the Christians, though? It's irrelevant. That is for me to defend in the next portion of the debate on the Trinity. This is purely for him to defend the Islamic position on underage marriage. It is not to do whataboutism. It is not to say, what about the Christians, though? What about them over there, though? That's all logically fallacious argumentation designed specifically to obfuscate away from the points which are being made, which is the justification inside of the Islamic worldview for why it's okay to have sexual intercourse with girls as young as 7, 8, 9 years old, why that's okay, why that's moral from their paradigm. I do not have to defend a paradigm here. It's not important that I defend a paradigm here. It's only important he defends his. The paradigm I'm defending is the Trinity in the next debate. So he can ask whatever questions that he wants in regards to clarification on what it is that I'm asking him, but it is not at
You even have Muslim Lantern kind of grinning right now.
all pertinent in any way, shape, or form, whatever he thinks the Christian belief on this is, that is not what I'm here to defend. He is here to defend the Islamic paradigm. With that, I'll yield my time.
With that.
And I do want to point out that the standard for when can you have intercourse with a little kid, it's when you believe that the little kid is able to bear the weight of the man. In order that this rupture of parts, as they so eloquently call it in Islamic fiqh manuals, does not occur.
And it's kind of clever if you think about how anime does, right? You have a certain amount of faces.
Muhammad did have a very small member and thus was able to have intercourse with an underdeveloped girl, which is not possible.
No, a certain amount of angles that you seldom deviate from. I see these webtoons as well. With
an idea that grown men
interesting.
Could do this to girls and not cause them a lot of damage, as long as the girl is chubby enough. That's what matters, if she's chubby. And they actually doctored a hadith to make Aisha chubbier, even though it is very clear in her own words, she said that she was thin. She said she was so thin that they could not tell whether or not she was inside of the howdah on top of a camel. Nobody could tell because women then were very thin. But then they insert this hot and cold humors based fattening through cucumbers, which have no calories and cannot actually fatten you. But because it's wet and cold, it's supposed to make you fat, because it's supposed to be the opposite of dry and hot, that would make you thin. And so that was inserted just to give a rationale for how you can determine whether or not a girl could be one with whom you have intercourse with. And they put the standard on the girl rather than the man. They do not consider the man or his size, because to do that, they would have to
I'm curious.
realize in their heads
Is there a
that there was
3D
something abnormal
Übermensch, I mean, Über look?
So that is kind of what we're dealing with. Right now, in Islamic law, men are having intercourse with little girls because Muhammad had a micro penis, bluntly. And
catch that guy? Hang on. That's important. That's important. That's important. To emphasize. Explain that real quickly again. What you just said. The reason this is a thing now. The reason this is still going on. The reason this became part of Islam.
Is that he had
God.
Thus he was able to have intercourse with a child.
Oh God!
And
Why?
because they refused to acknowledge that this was unusual, they put the onus on the girl on how robust she appears, as to whether or not she could bear the weight of the man.
Oh God. Just looking up some 3D models from Overwatch, and then there's like, oh yeah, this one that looks like a Blabella about to explode. Let me see. Mm-hmm. Oh shit. Yep. Wooden panel floor in the right gradient. But first, I need to get some crap out of my system. Oh, shit. Certain parts I hate about being but not to me. Ugh. All having to deal with, amongst other things, waste disposal.
So Games Workshop is back in the online community's crosshairs, and this time it's over Tabletop Simulator. Two of the biggest Warhammer 40k TTS tools, ForceOrg and Hubbert's map base, were hit with new DMCA takedowns. And yeah, sure, you know, nobody's disputing the fact that legally Games Workshop can do that. They have a right to protect their IP, for sure. But there's a pretty big difference between being legally right and making the smarter move overall. You know, I think for a lot of players, these mods were basically 40k on Tabletop Simulator because you kind of needed them. You know, ForceOrg has been around forever. It helped with army importing, the map base handled things like scoring, measuring, you know, all the stuff that actually made the game function online. You know, and obviously Valve had to comply, you know, so those mods disappeared from Steam. But, you know, the rumor is they're already back and you can find them if, you know where to look. Meanwhile, all the other TTS mod creators are kind of privatizing their own work and kind of hiding it to avoid getting kind of caught in the blast radius, I suppose. You know, and that's where this all gets really messy, because this isn't just a one-off situation. Like, GW has a very long history of swinging at the community, and we've shown this over the years. You know, there's, I mean, half of our editorial articles are basically them doing something stupid, from forums to going after the YouTube creators when they thought there was dollars to be made there because they were doing their own, you know, platform and videos. And look at that.
Police Simulator or Adventure Guild,
and also folks on the 3D print space. And it's just, it's frustrating, you know, and every time it happens, I feel like, yeah, okay, the company gets a short-term win. Some dude at GW's like, yeah, I did the thing. And you know what? What does that get you, bro? It doesn't get you nothing. You go nowhere, because it burns more goodwill on the community that keeps the Warhammer hobby running in between the gaps that GW doesn't even address, because all they're worried about is making money, having events that make money, having releases that make money. And the community fills the gaps between those big releases and between those big events that GW makes its money on. I mean, a $20 copy of Tabletop Simulator lets people try 40k, play with their friends online, test out lists, you know, in between events, or not being, you know, your buddies across the country. Oh, okay, let's jam out a quick game. I want to play test something, you know, and it even let the community stay connected during COVID when stores were locked down and there wasn't any way to get out and stuff. GW doesn't realize these things. So when they make that digital front door, so to speak, harder to find, it doesn't automatically mean more people are buying plastic or using their stupid app. I think in a lot of cases, there's a backlash, and it's noticeable, it's palpable. I mean, go look at all the threads about this everywhere. Like, there's so many frustrated people. So, you know, that's just where we're at. What do you think? Is GW protecting its IP like they should? Or is this just another self-inflicted wound against the Warhammer community and a closing of a very easy on-ramp for new players into the Warhammer hobby? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit like if you found this useful. And, you know, make sure you subscribe for more Warhammer news, rumors, and the latest hobby drama from Games Workshop. So Games Workshop is back in the online community's crosshairs, and this time it's over Tabletop Simulator. Two of the biggest Warhammer 40k.
This ranger thought he did everything it took to graduate, but what he didn't expect was that the commander wasn't done with him yet.
You know what to do. Ranger! Do another, Ranger. Ranger! Graduate class, what do you think? Another? Ranger friends and family, what do you think? Another? Mr. Secretary, what do you think? Another? Drop, Ranger.
This ranger thought he did.
"14 years ago, a guy got so tired of missing the exit he needed that he decided
Oh, doesn't anybody hate anybody anymore? Hey, birds, don't snakes always eat your eggs?
Don't fall for that.
Come on, someone's gotta have a grudge. This is too reformed.
Oh, did we evolve too much?
I actually have deep respect for spacefarers. Park your ships all nice and neat up there. If it makes you feel any better, I didn't steal anything from the glove boxes. No, I'm dying. Plants. Oh, doesn't.
Hey Matt, what's your favorite Space Marine chapter?
Mantis Warriors.
Hey Luke, what's your favorite Space Marine chapter?
Okay. Hmm. Mm-hmm. There.
Michelle, it's too hot for me. I'm shutting down.
Michelle, help!
John, are you okay? You're in the middle of the road. It's too hot. You have to pull.
Batman? You're real?
Turn it off.
Can you fly?
In a plane.
Then what, super strength?
No.
You're not just some guy in a bat costume, are you? Nobody asked you to prom, so now you dress as a bat and prowl around your parents' basement?
What's this do?
Huh? How'd you do that?
You weren't concentrating. Superman's close. I've been tracking his flight path.
On what? Your own satellite? I was kidding. You have a satellite?
Here he comes. His power levels are...
Not gonna be a problem for me.
We'll see.
Wait here. I got this. No offense. You just get in the way. Here's the plan. Green Lantern kicks Superman's ass. TMZ's got the video.
So, what can you do? We won't stop him. He's pissed off. We have to talk to him.
Talk to him?
Lantern, focus. You stop concentrating and that shield breaks apart.
Shut up. This guy's gonna kill us.
No, he won't. You're bruised, but you don't kill. Do you, Clark?
You've made your point, Bruce Wayne. Who the hell is Bruce Wayne?
Looks like you could use a hand.
Flash! Great to see you. Oh yeah, and that's Batman.
Batman's real?
Yeah, he's over there.
It is a real honor to meet you, sir. Batman. Sir, Batman, sir. I followed your efforts in Central City, Flash. You do tight, efficient work.
Batman? You're real?
As usual, $15.50.
Did you know this about Mystery Men? A crew member threw away a disposable lighter into this trash can, not realizing that it was a prop that was going to be set on fire later. During the take, the lighter exploded, which prompted Paul Rubens to improvise the line,
Excuse me.
Did you know this about Mystery Men?
The hell were you? I'm standing up here with my dick in my hand and you're out in a soda. I had something to do.
Your Honor, they just got this case 2 days ago. They're using the timing of our client's contract expiration to try to shake us down.
In 2 days, you found out enough to know you need an expedited trial, let alone care about these people.
Your Honor, 4 years ago, a mail carrier named Stanley Powell felt tightness in his chest. Doctors couldn't find anything wrong, but they wanted to keep him for 1 extra day. Now, unfortunately, Pelton Insurance refused to pay. So Mr. Powell went home, crawled into bed, and 1 day later he was dead. In front of you, you have a complaint that's over 5,000 pages long, which tells the stories of another 189 victims. Pick a page at random, tell me the number, and I will tell you exactly what their client did to them.
Your Honor, are you actually buying that?
Page 627, Mr.
Lawrence Green, 63-year-old grandfather, admitted to St. Vincent with complaints of lower back pain and excessive weight loss. He thought it was stress. Turns out it was lymphoma, only they didn't find out until it was too late because their client refused to pay for the MRI. But please, don't tell me we don't care.
Motion for expedited trial granted.
For your information, that's what I was doing.
The hell were you? I'm standing up here with my dick in my hand and you're out in a soda.
So George is installing this new gate he built into the wall so that Zoe would stop coming upstairs and peeing. Come here! Come here!
Okay, but who's turning that light on?
Yes, ma'am. The unit has lots of cabinetry, so you won't have any shortage of space. If you open these up, you get a load of bullshit.
How convenient to have these 2 mirrors up. Girl, look at this. I'm not checking shit.
Yo, put that blind down for me real quick.
This one?
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, better?
So directly across from their toilet, there's this like built-in cabinet structure. And when you pull this,
There's the toilet.
So George is installing the.
It's a shit job. I remember on the first day I thought, this is a shit job. Thought I'll give it 13 years, see if it comes good. Nah, it was shit at the end. It's a shit job.
Can I ask you a question? But I want an honest answer. Nothing fancy. Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
How long do you intend to hang around here getting on everybody's tits?
Everything all right, Anthony? Something the matter? No. Can I ask you a question? Yeah. But I want an honest answer, nothing fancy. Can you do that for me? Yeah. How much longer do you intend to hang around getting on everybody's tits? Me? Yes, you.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. T? Man, what did I tell you about staying out of...
So, what's the problem? Did we fill something out wrong?
No, your application was rejected because according to our records, James here is still married to Lucy Carlisle.
Oh, that. No, she's dead. She got electrocuted and hit by a bus. It was very tragic. Not really tragic. She was a serial killer. Is there a word that combines tragic with happiness? Schadenfreude. Now you're just making up words. Anyway, so we're all set, right?
We still need a copy of the death certificate. You can request one from the coroner's office, and they'll mail it to you in 3 weeks.
My wedding's tomorrow.
I don't know what to tell you. You could dig up her body and bring it here. I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Well, that's why I couldn't find her death certificate, because Lucy isn't dead.
So, what's the problem? Did we fill something out wrong?
No, your application was rejected because according to our records, James here is still married to Lucy Carlisle.
Oh, that. No, she's dead.
You want to be a protector? Then protect this soul. Revert to your mortal form, and I will prove a benevolent deity.
And then you'll just kill me.
I will.
Shazam.
Now put her down.
See? Like an ant.
No! This doesn't...
Your last breath wasted on the wrong word.
No more. No more being weak. No more. No more.
Easy there. You got him. It changes you, does it not? The power.
Changes that I can choose my own fate now.
That's enough.
No, I have to protect them.
How? By being like him?
By being stronger than him.
Then be strong. Be good. This is not over then. Only death will stop me.
You're forgetting option number 2. Banishment. I'll take it from here, Captain.
You want to be a protector? Then protect this soul. Revert to your mortal form, and I will prove a benevolent...
In 1991, a Game Boy was dropped from a building during the Gulf War. Not dropped carelessly, dropped in an explosion. The soldier carrying it was caught in a blast. The Game Boy fell. The battery compartment cracked. The screen shattered partially. The plastic housing melted on one corner from fire damage. When someone picked it up and put batteries in it, it turned on. It is still on display at a Nintendo store in New York City today. Still functional, still running Tetris. That Game Boy was built by an engineer named Gunpei Yokoi. He spent his career at Nintendo building things that worked completely, lasted forever, and cost ordinary people money they could actually afford. Nintendo forced him out in 1996. What Nintendo sells today costs $70 per game, has a controller that drifts so badly that the company settled a class action lawsuit rather than fix the hardware, and runs on technology that Japan's own engineers had already moved past before the product launched. Gunpei Yokoi built Nintendo to last. The Nintendo that replaced him builds Nintendo to sell. Nintendo is the most beloved gaming brand in the world. Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Metroid, Donkey Kong, these are not just games, they are cultural institutions that 3 generations of players grew up with and passed down to their children. That love is real, and Nintendo has learned to monetize it in ways that Gunpei Yokoi would not recognize. The Nintendo Switch launched in 2017 at $299. 7 years later, Nintendo released the Switch 2 at $450, a 50% price increase over its predecessor. First-party game prices increased to $70 standard, with Nintendo's own Mario Kart World launching at $80 at release. The Joy-Con controllers included with every Switch have a documented drift problem. The analog sticks register movement when the player is not touching them, making precise gameplay impossible. Nintendo acknowledged the problem quietly and offered free repairs inside a limited window. They did not fix the hardware design. New Joy-Con units sold after the problem was publicly documented drifted at the same rate as the originals because the root cause, a potentiometer-based analog stick design with a known wear pattern, was never addressed. A class action lawsuit was filed. Nintendo settled. The settlement did not require Nintendo to change the hardware. It required Nintendo to make the repair process slightly easier. Gunpei Yokoi built a Game Boy that survived a war. Nintendo built a controller that cannot survive 2 years of normal use. These are products made by the same company. They are not products made by the same philosophy. Gunpei Yokoi joined Nintendo in 1965 as a maintenance engineer. He was supposed to maintain the assembly line machines that produced Nintendo's Hanafuda playing cards. He was not supposed to design products. What he designed instead changed the history of interactive entertainment. Yokoi's engineering philosophy had a name he gave it himself: lateral thinking with withered technology. The idea was simple and radical simultaneously. Do not use the most advanced technology available. Use mature, well-understood, inexpensive technology in new and creative ways. A product built on proven technology is cheaper to manufacture, more reliable in the field, and reaches more people because the price is lower. The Game Boy, released in 1989, embodied this philosophy completely. It used at a time when competitors were releasing 16-bit handheld systems. It used a reflective LCD screen with no backlight at a time when color backlit screens existed. It was slower, less visually impressive, and less technically advanced than every competing handheld of its era. It also lasted 30 hours on 4 AA batteries. It survived drops, spills, temperature extremes, and at least one explosion. It cost $89 at launch. It sold 118 million units across its lifespan, more than any competing handheld in history. The Sega Game Gear had a color backlit screen, a faster processor, and superior technical specifications in every category. It lasted 3 hours on 6 AA batteries. It sold 11 million units. Yokoi understood something that the specification arms race of consumer electronics consistently forgets: the product that people can actually use, for the time they actually have, at the price they can actually afford, wins. Technical superiority on a spec sheet is worthless if the battery is dead. The D-pad, the cross-shaped directional pad that appears on virtually every game controller manufactured since 1982, is a Yokoi invention. He designed it for the Game & Watch handheld series because a joystick was too large and too fragile for a pocket device. The D-pad is a precision input mechanism with no moving parts beyond the membrane beneath it. It is virtually indestructible. It has been in continuous use for 43 years because Yokoi designed it correctly the first time. The NES, the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Pocket, every Nintendo hardware success of the 1980s and 1990s was built under Yokoi's hardware philosophy or directly by his R&D
Snowmobile Simulator.
They were durable, they prioritized the experience over the specification. Then Nintendo asked Yokoi's division
Tactical
to build a
roguelite
virtual
game
reality
based customized
headset.
dice monsters.
The Virtual Boy
Catching
launched in
mechanic.
1995. It was Yokoi's
Our
lateral thinking
adventure
philosophy
guild.
applied to a technology, stereoscopic 3D display, that was not yet mature enough to be used creatively. The display
Game about the managing an adventure guild. Oh god. Why? Oh yes. IGN Plus.
It was neither a handheld nor a home console. It sold 770,000 units before Nintendo discontinued it after less than a year on the market. It was Nintendo's most public hardware failure. Yokoi took responsibility. He resigned from Nintendo in 1996 after 31 years with the company. 7 months after his resignation, he was killed in a car accident. He was 56 years old. The philosophy he built Nintendo on did not die immediately. The Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, released after his departure, were developed under the framework he established. But without Yokoi anchoring the hardware culture, Nintendo's approach to product development began shifting in ways that became visible only gradually. The Wii succeeded enormously, 100 million units, because its motion control concept was lateral thinking in the Yokoi tradition. Simple, mature accelerometer technology applied creatively to make gaming accessible to people who had never played before. But the Wii's success was followed by the Wii U, which failed comprehensively because Nintendo misread what consumers wanted from the gamepad controller concept and built hardware that confused its market. The Switch is Nintendo's most successful hardware since the Wii. Its concept, a console that converts to a handheld, is genuinely innovative and genuinely useful. The hardware underneath the concept is where the Yokoi philosophy has been most visibly abandoned. The Joy-Con drift problem is the clearest evidence. The analog sticks in every Joy-Con use a potentiometer, a mechanical component with a carbon contact strip that wears down with use, causing the drift signal. Hall effect sensors, which detect magnet position rather than physical contact and have no wear component, eliminate drift entirely. They cost marginally more to manufacture. Third-party controller manufacturers, including GuliKit and PowerA, use Hall effect sensors in their Switch-compatible controllers. Nintendo does not use them in Joy-Con because the potentiometer cost model supports a higher margin on replacement controllers and repair services. Yokoi built hardware that lasted because he believed the product should outlast the consumer's need to replace it. Nintendo's current hardware division builds controllers with a known wear point because the replacement cycle is revenue. The Game Boy survived a bombing. The Joy-Con cannot survive Breath of the Wild. The durability record of Nintendo hardware across generations is public and documented by the collector and repair communities that have spent decades maintaining it. Original Game Boy units from 1989, 37 years old, have a functional rate among collectors that repair services estimate above 80% without intervention. The hardware Yokoi designed with mature, robust components has survived 4 decades of use, storage, and handling. Replacement parts are the capacitors and screen polarizers that age chemically, not the core electronics, which remain fully functional. The Nintendo 64's cartridge connector, a mechanical component that receives thousands of insertions across a console's life, has a documented failure rate among collector repair services of under 5% on original hardware. The connector was engineered with gold-plated contacts and a spring tension calibrated to maintain contact through thousands of cycles. By contrast, the Joy-Con drift lawsuit documents that Nintendo received over 1 million repair requests for Joy-Con drift in the United States alone before the class action was filed. iFixit's Joy-Con Teardown, published in 2019, identified the potentiometer wear mechanism and suggested Hall effect sensors as the engineering solution. Nintendo did not implement the solution, they settled the lawsuit instead. The Switch OLED model, released in 2021, uses the same Joy-Con design as the original 2017 Switch. The problem was documented in 2019. Nintendo chose not to fix it across 2 hardware revisions. The financial record explains the decision. Nintendo's operating margin on hardware and accessories is significantly higher than on software. Replacement Joy-Con sets retail for $79. The Hall effect sensor upgrade that would eliminate the replacement cycle costs approximately $3 more per unit to implement. Nintendo's calculation was visible in the outcome: settle the lawsuit, continue the design, collect the replacement revenue. Yokoi's Game Boy cost $89 in 1989, approximately $200 in today's money, and lasted decades. A Joy-Con set costs $79 and lasts 2 years. The math of that comparison is the distance between 2 engineering philosophies. Here is what Yokoi's engineering legacy still offers and what the current Nintendo market should tell you. Original Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance hardware is available on the used market for $30 to $150 depending on condition. The library of games available for these platforms, through both original cartridges and modern flash cartridge solutions, is enormous. The hardware will outlast any modern handheld at any price point. Yokoi built it too. For Switch owners dealing with Joy-Con drift, the repair is documented by iFixit and requires replacing the potentiometer stick module, a $15 part, and a 30-minute
Oh,
repair.
yeah. Okay, I think we have a plan there. No,
Eliminate drift permanently. The repair Nintendo won't make is available to anyone with a small screwdriver. If you are considering the Switch 2 at $450 with $70 to $80 game prices, the calculation Yokoi would have made is straightforward. The original Switch at a reduced price plays the same library, and the library is the product. The hardware is the delivery mechanism. Pay for the games. Do not pay $450 for a delivery mechanism when a $200 one plays the same games. Yokoi built hardware that served the software. Nintendo currently builds hardware that serves the margin. The Game Boy that survived a bombing is in a display case in New York. The philosophy that built it did not make it into the Switch 2. If Gunpei Yokoi's name is new to you, and you have owned a Nintendo your entire life, subscribe and hit the bell. New case file every week, and the story of what gets lost when engineers lose to accountants is one we're going to keep telling. Gunpei Yokoi spent 31 years at Nintendo building things that worked completely, lasted forever, and reached people who could not afford to replace them. He built a Game Boy that survived a war. He built a D-pad that appears on every controller made in the last 40 years. He built a philosophy, lateral thinking with withered technology, that produced the most successful handheld gaming platform in history by refusing to compete on specifications that did not matter to the person holding the device. Nintendo forced him out after one failed product. 7 months later, he was gone entirely. What replaced his philosophy built a controller with a known wear point, settled the lawsuit rather than fix the hardware, and charges $80 for a game that Yokoi would have priced to reach the widest possible audience. The Game Boy that survived the Gulf War is still running Tetris. The Joy-Con that shipped with your Switch
Please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already subscribed. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you're well and thank you very much for joining us. Today we're going to be taking a look at the YouTube channel of Just a Robot. Now I haven't looked at Just a Robot in a while, and it turns out a few things have changed on one of his channels. The first thing we're going to look at is the announcement that he has recently been removed from the YouTube Partner Program on one of his channels. Now this is an interesting one because my belief was if removed from one, all your other accounts suffered. Apparently that is not the case for Jar, which is an interesting one because if you circumvent it, there's always a risk you will be fully struck and removed, but I'll let Jar explain this one before we proceed.
Bye-bye, YouTube monetization. No, I was not demonetized. My videos don't have the yellow dollar signs on them. I've been completely kicked out of the YouTube Partner Program. Now, I'm not going to go homeless or anything. For my entire quote-unquote YouTube career, I've only done YouTube full-time for only 1 year. I have a full-time job that I love, and it gives me both medical and dental benefits.
Which is, we can all agree, exactly how any YouTuber, aspiring or fully committed, should be. We should always have something away from this, because this is not going to last forever. Some of us are lucky to have gone a decade. Of course, that's great. Of course it is. Yeah, it's brilliant. However, to achieve the level of success, meaningful and prolonged, sustained success, you have to be something YouTube really want to promote. Right now, it's not a YouTuber, it's AI slop. So the irony of what you're about to hear shouldn't be lost on you.
I wasn't making a whole lot through YouTube anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. But why was I kicked out of the YouTube Partner Program? Was I not making enough money on this channel? Well, no, because my old channel is making even less money by far, and it's still part of the YouTube Partner Program. Instead, I was kicked out for making inauthentic content that appears mass-produced.
As a commentary YouTuber, this is one of the biggest problems we as creators are facing, whether it be as a streamer or as a video producer, and I do both. I have to do both. Why? Because YouTube have nerfed videos in favor of shorts. Now, the reason for that is because then they pay people less. They then nerf you as a creator rather than promoting you once you hit certain milestones. They make it increasingly harder to go somewhere. In this instance, Jar is still monetized on an account on a channel. One of these accounts, one of these channels, and I think it is the other one, exists only because he got hacked on the main account 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Like, it's ridiculous how many times he got hacked. I do not support any creator being removed from the partner program, because it's not a sign of you trying to promote authentic content, because so many inauthentic creators, the AI slop, are still there on the platform. No, instead, it's because I don't like the idea of any creator who puts time into what they do being punished for doing that. I also think that you're then telling the creators they are subservient to the will and the whims of advertisers. It should be the other way around. The advertisers should be wanting to use this site because it is such a big platform. But this isn't the case anymore. It's very much a case since the adpocalypse, and some creators can certainly take responsibility for that. Since the adpocalypse, advertisers have had more power and sway. Now governments are seeking to do the same.
Without adding significant educational or other value. No, that doesn't add up. I put tons and tons of editing into my videos. I'm not a reaction channel, a live streamer, or anything of the sort. Sure, I play clips from other YouTubers here and there, but it's only for a few seconds. These rules do not apply to my video on the history of internet blood sports, Cruel World Happy Mind, or Internet Anarchist.
As much as I dislike Jar for all that he is, the spectre-brained fool that abused his avatar artist, and don't think I'm ever going to forgive you for that, I still have the screenshot. He is right on this. Inauthentic content as an excuse to get rid of a creator from a partner program is an unfair punishment that is not done by human review, it is done by an AI system. As somebody that has a very monotone voice a lot of the time, I get very worried that I'm going to get hit with the same thing, which is why I will never celebrate any creator being hit, because I know this matters so much to a lot of us, and it does to me. It matters to me because this is my job. I love my job. And I'm sure Jar, even when it was his full-time job for 1 year, felt the same way. Of course, in his case, he really didn't learn. If he had, he never would have gotten into so many fights to begin with. If he had, he wouldn't be where he is now. Hell, he might actually be an even bigger and better creator, committing to the robot voice thing.
Sure, in my shorts I do 100% use audio from other YouTubers. However, a lot of people who make shorts do this, and I completely change the visuals. Sure, a lot of the art may be AI, but the editing sure as hell isn't. Of course, I tried to appeal this and email someone who worked at YouTube, but trust me, it was like talking to a wall. I'm 99% sure I wasn't even talking to a real person.
You weren't. And the most tragic thing now is they don't have people working in the majority of the departments that review content. It's like when your video gets demonetized. Interestingly, when that happens, it gets sent to a country, to someone who does review it, based on the standards of that country. That's the mistake. Also, that person's own particular interpretation of the rules will differ from others if it's sent to a person to begin with. I've had 2 community warnings in my entire time on YouTube, and both of them were for the things I did not do. I know I didn't, and it is verifiably injustice. Both videos were then posted, the ones that got removed, posted to other platforms. People could then go and see on Rumble, BitChute, they could see I wasn't lying. Did YouTube care? No, because the appeal was rejected within a minute. Now, we have this information to hand, and we know Jar is not a part of the partner program. Does that mean Jar has stopped? No, actually, Jar has not. On the Just a Robot channel, he has actually since then uploaded 4 times. And interestingly, I'm a bit late to this, but interestingly, he has been going after Nick Diorio mostly. Now, this is an interesting one because some people have been sweeping for Turkey Tom. I believe Chud Logic had a falling out with Nick Diorio of some kind. Nick Diorio himself is being accused of being a sweeper by Jar. He did a trilogy video set on this. And these videos, based on my own views, aren't bad. But for somebody who once would get 100,000 plus per video, these videos are horrific for him. He still gets majority upvotes, which is very good for him. Of course it is. Is the substance any good? Well, that's the interesting point, because after the skeptics and anti-SJWs, and he was a part of that, eventually there was a lull, and then a community rose up. A new set of commentary bros, as it were. This is where Turkey Tom, Nick Diorio, Bo Blacks, and others rose up. I would say Just Stop as well, because he appeared around the same time. There were many, in fact, but I don't think he was part of the community as a whole. He had his own
Do
area,
I
and
defeat
Jarvis in that area.
A?
Over time, these people went on to fall out in some cases. They went on to do their own thing. Nick Diorio, I always felt, could have been a much larger creator, and I don't mean based on his physical size. I'm not making a fat joke here. I felt that he could have been if he was willing to do that, but he realized he was a more capable live streamer than he was video producer, and that made him a better, more engaging person. The same could be said for Chud Logic. Turkey Tom, though, is definitely a better video producer. Bo Blacks was a better video producer until they had their own issue with lyrics. And just as a point of interest, even within these video comment sections, the trilogy on Nick Diorio, I noticed people were highlighting even Bo Blacks thinks you're weird, Jar. Still, after all this time, Jar has been an active creator on a channel that I believe is still demonetized, and that's fascinating to me to see, because there's no community post updating whether or not he has been
Ja, is it radio? Whatever. Let's try and do something different. Into fuck. Ah, shit. Why doesn't these two keyboard work if 3 doesn't work? Because of this one I have connected. One reason to use the one I have at the moment is because it's F keys.
Loose scrap, want four. Ace, loose scrap, want four. Ace, loose scrap, want four. Scrap, want four. Who wants the hard four? Five wants four. Check me out, y'all. Nine a winner, got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Nine a winner, got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Four, and he made us the hard way. We have a shooter and a good one. Coming out for a new point. Hit your bets now, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is nine. Place nine. Place nine. Eight shooting for nine. Five shooting for nine. He's a rolling point is nine. Place nine. Eight shooting for nine. Five shooting for nine. Who wants to come? Six to point. Check me out, y'all. Nine a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Nine a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets. Place your bets. Who wants to come? Six to point. Who wants to come? Six to point. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Check me out, y'all. Eight shooting for nine. Five shooting for nine. He's a rolling point is nine. Place nine. Eight shooting for nine. Five shooting for nine. Who wants to come?
Understand the concept of love. Understand the concept of love.
Yeah, no, that music is not to my liking. God damn it, that's supposed to be it's a bit too repetitive in the wrong kind of way.
There's a man on the internet. There's a man on the internet. Just some random guy I met years ago. There's a man on the internet. Fortunately, there's a dark side to this person. There's a man on the internet. He's addicted to drama. There's a man on the internet. He spreads rumors about people.
Oh, has
There's a
the
man on the internet. Facts with facts with
late
There's a man on the internet. There's a man on the internet. You're talking about yourself. There's a man on the internet.
underwater air entertainment.
There's a man on the internet. I took him to court. What a hero. Wow. There's a man on the internet. A guy by the name of...
Latest in underwater air containment.
There's a man on the internet. Maybe I'm the problem. There's a man on the internet. I tried my best, but...
And some bandages.
There's a man on the internet. What happened next was insane.
There we go.
Rape.
Planning.
That's a threat.
Yes.
Sweet rape. I can't wait. My livelihood. Watch my stream. Leave me the fuck alone. My livelihood. They're just memes. Leave me the fuck alone. My livelihood. Rumor is that Madison's dead. My livelihood. Oh, that's right. Fuck you. Fuck off. Shithead. Here is a small sample of the slander. Talk. Wow. Newsflash. That's protected speech, which is a fucking crime. Here is a small sample of the slander. Lie, gaslight, doc, fuck off. But I'm sure there's stuff I've missed. Nope. Wow. Awesome. Leave me the fuck alone. There's a man on the internet. 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 Maybe I should go see a doctor. There's a man on the internet.
I suppose I should really just stop. Take a break. prepare food and do something else. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah.